is. I've been working with AI for a very long time, since high school. Only recently it's become much more prevalent. I'm not sure who here hasn't heard of ChatGPT. Every, oh, Breno, you haven't.
I have.
You have, okay. So it's one of the fastest growing softwares in the world since humans created software. 100 million users within the first couple months. It's absolutely insane, and I have been using it ever since to increase efficiency in my work. It's great for my job, and it's great for many jobs out there, just for idea generation and various other things we will talk about. So this is going to be in 4 weeks for the introduction, 30-minute sessions, very short. I don't want to give too much information to overwhelm people. So we're just going to define really what AI is today and look at the components of it. Boring stuff for most people, but if you are interested in it, talk about what AI is these days, really how it's used, and how it can help us in our everyday work and in our lives in general. So, AI refers to the development of computer systems that perform human tasks. Really, today's AI is a giant dictionary, and it's great at solving puzzles. So it can read human input in the form of a prompt, so you can ask it what you want. And it knows how to match up words. It doesn't actually have intelligence that you and me would have. It's slowly growing. The main areas we're looking at are memory and context, to be able to differentiate what the conversation context is and how it fits into the whole conversation and gives a better response to the AI. So and that's part of understanding human language and recognizing patterns. So machine learning is one of the core parts of AI. That's what I've been working with for a very long time, along with neural networks. This is not hugely important to us, but it is very interesting. I am happy to go into more details about this. I have multiple research papers on this stuff that I can talk about for hours, but we will not get into that today. But just in general, the machine learning is just the training of the AI, reinforcement training mainly, feeding it massive sums of data, and it learns based off that data it's given, and that's where the neural networks come in. Neural networks are extremely complicated, high-level vector mathematics, not important, but what is important is the natural language processing. It's how the AI can understand the languages we speak, not just English. It understands a wide variety of languages these days, and it can generate that as a response. So this is very important. A lot of people think AI is going to take our jobs. It's not. It's a tool. It's meant to help us. It works well at tasks that are very repetitive, very easy to do, don't require much critical thinking or emotional intelligence. Math is one, coding, which I use it all the time for. Most of the time it's good, sometimes it's not. But yeah, it doesn't work well on a high level view of, say, like a project management. It can't, it needs to be broken down into very specific parts. So, as we said, AI's public presence has grown exponentially in the last 3 years. Everyone's hopping on AI. You hear it, it's a buzzword now. And in the future, it's just going to get even bigger. Real world applications, Tesla's had their self-driving cars for many years. Personalized medicine is a new one. AI's helping develop different drugs. Cancer research is huge. And of course, virtual assistants. Everyone knows ChatGPT. Yeah. And as I said, so it's great at automating repetitive tasks. Data analysis is also huge. I have fed it massive amounts of data. I know ChatGPT can read the entire Harry Potter collection, all 7 or 8 books, and in one prompt, which is a massive amount of data going in. It can help us in new ways of working, mainly just supplementing the work that we do. So it does all of the grunt work, we do the higher level work. And that leads to increasing efficiency. We want it to make us faster at our job, while also having the same level of detail. We don't want to do our job worse, so we need to use AI correctly, so it's not hindering our output. So specifically for the marketing people here, it's great at generating marketing content, personalizing customer experiences, again, data analysis, automating tasks, predicting trends and behaviors. It's okay at. Modern AI needs to be trained specifically for stuff like this. Large language models are just that. They're language models. They know how to mimic human speech. They don't have actual intelligence unless they are trained specifically on a data set. So I want to mainly have this introductory session just talking about ChatGPT. We're going to look at it a bit. For people who are not familiar with it, I will go into more detail with it. So this is, first of all, there we go. So this is ChatGPT. This is, so the model up here is what you will be talking to. Models referred to the data sets they were trained on. The free version, GPT 3.5, is what most people are used to using. Just recently, they made GPT-4 Omni the available in free version with a pretty decent limit for amount you can talk to it. And the main difference is just where their cutoff date is for training. So GPT 3.5, I believe the cutoff date was early 2022. So any knowledge past that, it doesn't have intimate knowledge of, but it still does have the ability to look up stuff on Google, do searches for you and stuff like that. I highly recommend for people to use the GPT-4 or 4 Omni, just for the level of intelligence that it shows, and the output that it gives is just miles better than 3.5. Well, for smaller, less intensive tasks, 3.5 is fine. But overall, 4 is great. I love it. I use it every day. I was just using it today to set up something that I was not familiar with, and it gives great output from giving the correct input. So that's an important thing when you are talking to an AI. For example, this was a conversation I was having today. This is a prompt. So this is what I told it, and then it gives an output. So it's important when you're generating a prompt, talking to an AI, you need to give detail, very specific detail. So you don't want to also overwhelm it. So tackle one problem at a time. Don't, if you have multiple problems, do one prompt, follow it up with another prompt. But most of the time, as you can see by the length of this conversation, you will be going back and forth with the AI. It is not perfect. It learns based off of what your prompts are, but it is still in its infancy. So yeah, that is a conversation. just going through the UI sidebar, you have your GPTs. These are specific AIs built to do certain tasks very well. So Code Copilot is something I use for doing coding. And then I also have one that I was playing with. This is a custom GPT that is trained off of one of our old catalogs. So you can ask it information about the EasyClean catalog. It can research it, reference it. And it hasn't been trained perfectly, but it is something that can be done over time. And of course, you have your saved conversations, and it saves everything. I can go all the way back to 2023 or something like that. It might show 2022. No, it doesn't go that far back. But yeah, you can see any old conversations. If I want to reference an old one, pulls it up. So that's nice. So I'll go to the bar at the bottom is where you're obviously typing your prompts to, but you can also attach applications from OneDrive and from Google Drive or just from your computer. So it can reference stuff from files. It's good at reading Excel documents, PDFs, Word documents. And you can also reference websites, and it can search through websites for you. It's not the greatest at that. It's much better to, if you have something on a website, information you want to reference, you should take a screenshot of it and send it as a photo. It's much better at that. And then, oh yes, so if we go to a conversation, down here, you can have it read aloud. It does have a voice that you can change. You can copy the entire output that it's given you. Regenerate means to send the prompt again, and it will regenerate its answer. Sometimes it's different, sometimes it's not. Results may vary. This is important. If it gives you a bad response, you want to tell it that. So this is how you would do that. You give it a thumbs down, pretty easy. And then you can change the model. So if you want to use a different model, it can regenerate the prompt based off of a different model. Yeah, that is a very brief overview. Oh, actually, this is also something else I forgot to mention. Here it popped up memory. So the memory is located up in your settings and personalizations. So it remembers very certain specific details. So you can have, this is the memory that's in my GPT, so it will remember all of this stuff and reference it for when it's giving answers. It's important to keep this up to date so it's not remembering stuff that is not important anymore. So if you write something in here, make sure it's still relevant to what you're doing, or it will make mistakes if it's referencing that over and over again. Custom instructions are another one. You can give it more information about yourself and how it should respond. So here I just gave some information about me so it knows more about my background, experience, and then how I'd like it to respond to me when I'm talking to it, so you can personalize it based off of your needs. And that's really what it's about. GPTs are all about training, learning, being very specific for a task that you want it to do. So you can go in and look up here, explore GPTs, and you can find a GPT for pretty much anything. Not just in work, you can have it for travel guides, stuff like that. It's really good at, I use this one a lot, Universal Primer. It's just good for teaching stuff, and it teaches stuff in a way that I find is on a level that most people can understand. I find ChatGPT has a way of being a little too wordy and a little too high level. So you have to tell it that if you want something explained at a lower level, you have to be very specific at that. But that is basically a brief overview about what ChatGPT is and what AI is. I wanted to leave this open for questions or anything that you want to ask. Um, I have a lot of experience with this, so I hope I can answer it, but that is, the floor is everyone's. So feel free to ask what you want.
So you mentioned that one of the features is that you can upload, you can attach files to the
Yeah.
prompts. How does that work with like security and stuff?
So it depends on if you're a paid user. It is secure, and it is also not trained on. So that is one thing with the free version. Any data, any prompts you do, any conversations with the AI are used for training. So I always say, don't tell the AI anything you wouldn't want to post on social media. So that's one thing to keep into consideration. I know that was something we were talking about here with using it for any internal stuff. You need to be careful with what is put into an AI, because there were situations where it can be accessed by other users. It's a little tough to know that. But yeah, you just be careful with what data you put into it.
So the Easy Clean catalog one that you made,
Yeah, I was. I believe it was this one. No. Oh, here we go. This is it. EK catalog. So I upload the catalog and I was just asking stuff about it. So this is information. I asked it, talking about dust suppression trailer. Can you look into the catalog and break down the information? So I found the information from it, the pump's frame, what it includes, the model number, and the page reference. So stuff like that, it's really good for extracting data when you need it. But I believe it did make a mistake somewhere. It might not have been this conversation, but I asked it for something that was in the catalog and it gave me a wrong page number. So it's very important that you always double check the output that it gives you. It's not perfect and it will never be perfect, unfortunately. I consistently go back and forth with it when I'm writing code, because it will give me the completely wrong output that I want.
so even with you going back and forth with it, obviously that takes time,
Yes.
but you still find that it's faster sometimes to go here than to just,
It really depends how detailed you want to get with it. Like, for example, I'm working with a new programming language that I'm not used to. It's much easier to ask it to find me references in the documentation for the code rather than just skimming through 50 pages of documentation myself.
right,
But that's where it's nice that I can ask it for a page number or a quote from the documentation, and I can then go and recheck it myself. So that's the key thing, is always double check, because it will make mistakes and it will be very confident in those mistakes. It will tell you, yep, this is what you should do, X, Y, and Z, but it will be completely wrong.
right.
And you can call it out on it and it'll say, oops, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And it does it all the time. But yes, in the end, I do find it much faster. It's a faster way of researching. It's a faster way of, like, when I'm creating boilerplate code that I've done 1,000 times, I can just tell it, create me this code to these exact specifications, and it does it 99% of the time. And it's also good for, like I told you about editing and revising stuff. I use it all the time. If I'm creating reports, I'll have it read through it, give me suggestions. It's like my regular flow is do a rough draft, send it through ChatGPT, revise, send it through Grammarly, and then it's pretty much done. Other than that, yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. I know there's a lot of people out there that do not like it and will not use it, and I believe it can be used on pretty much any use case in any scenario. You just need to use it properly. Yeah. Anything else?
I have a question. In the beginning, you were talking about machine learning. Does it work when you're not logged in? Because ChatGPT has a offline version that you can just.
So the machine learning part of ChatGPT is its training, and all of the training is done kind of behind the scenes. Training is a massive part of creating an AI like this. So large language models are trained months to years before they're actually released. So I believe they just started, it's called red teaming, is when they start training. They're red teaming GPT-5 right now, and that won't be released for probably 6 or so months. So it's like we're talking about billions and billions and billions of lines of data that can be going into these machines then it's running through a neural network, and it's a very long process. So all of your information that you're sending now, if you are on the free version, it will be trained on that data, but it won't be trained on it till much later. So if you want to, the main thing about training something for your specific use case is using the memory and using the custom instructions. So that will tell it, the memory will be able to reference like various information that you've given it in the past. And the custom instructions will just be able to give the AI more detail about you and your knowledge, and then how it should respond to you. So like, for example, in my custom instructions, I tell it to comment code.
Oh, okay. You can give an instruction.
Yeah. I need my code commented, because if it gives me a function that I have no idea what it does, I need to know what it does. I like stuff in bullet points, so I tell it to do that. Creating visual aids. For example, it created this entire slideshow with just one prompt. Yes. That was one of the, this one right here. So that was one of the custom GPTs. And it just, I told it, I fed it this document that I had. It was just notes about this, which is here. There's the Google Docs attachment. And it breaks it down, uses the bullet points like I like, and then it generates these slides here, which are downloadable after. So it obviously you tweak it a little bit, but otherwise it's very good at what it does. You think about how long it would take to make that, and you do it in 60 seconds.
Yeah, and you could probably even give it like brand colors,
Yep.
logo.
You can tell it exactly what you want.
Right.
The more detail you give it, the more the output will match what you expect.
Well, it's funny because when you were looking at the different GPTs, I was thinking about how for the last 3 years I've wanted to make infographics for here, even just like to talk about what our chemicals can do, and I've sat down and tried so many times, but I don't even know where to start.
And this is what I love about it. It is great for idea generation. I have the same problem, and when I'm doing a research paper currently, and I'm trying to figure out what my thesis is, and it's great for generating ideas that I would never think of, because its knowledge base is vastly superior than our own. It has the ability to research things and generate ideas much faster.
Yeah.
And then it's just refining it.
Yeah. So I totally see the application in marketing. I totally see the application for you guys for like for accounting and production. Like, is there specific things in mind that you think?
It really depends on the scenario. Like I know it on a very intimate level in my field because I've just been using it for so long. I've used it in business in the past, financial analysis, stuff like that. I do believe it can be useful in pretty much any scenario in any field, but it really comes down to think about the specific task you need and then see if it fits that task.
Do you have any tasks in your mind where you're like, I wonder if that could help with that?
I don't know, so it just does stuff in this program.
Well, it can do a wide variety of things. Like if you need an Excel document created, it can do that. Word documents,
Or if you need it to search Google? Or
search. The vast majority of people actually go to ChatGPT now before they even go to Google. So it's becoming a search agent in itself.
I can't think of anything at this moment.
I'm just curious because I'm like, I feel like it could help every single part of what I do.
And that's really what it's meant for, is to, you think about those menial tasks that you do almost all the time, and that's what it's meant to do. It does those things very well, very quickly, and it just speeds up your work process. Well, if that's it, I will be going into more detail about prompts next time. I'm not sure when I will schedule that one, but just going into more detail about how to talk to an AI, how to format a prompt properly, things to avoid, and really just to make sure that when you're talking to it, you get the output that you want it to give you, rather than hallucinating, which is what it'll do quite a bit.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.